Imagine, if you will, looking at a mountain. And, not just any mountain, but Mount Everest.
Okay, yeah, I'm picturing it.
Right, so imagine that just to send a single sentence to a family member, you have to strap on your boots and literally climb it every single time.
That sounds completely exhausting.
Exactly. The sheer physical and emotional friction of that act sounds absurd, right? But as we're going to explore today, that is exactly what the digital landscape felt like not too long ago for millions of people.
It really was a completely different world.
It really was. So, welcome to this deep dive. Today is Monday, June 8th, 2026, and we are unpacking an incredibly unique set of sources for you.
Yeah, we've got our hands on a transcript of a highly detailed strategic chat log.
Right. It's an ongoing conversation between a visionary individual named Murty and an AI assistant named Littlebird.
It's just a gripping document to analyze. I mean, reading through their exchanges, you're essentially looking at the real-time architectural blueprints for a localized economic shift.
You really are. So our mission for you today is to explore a profound digital transformation happening right now as we speak in rural India.
Specifically down in the Godavari River belt.
Exactly. We're going to look at how one man's quarter-century-old prediction is materializing into what he calls a digital gurukul, like a framework that could structurally reverse the need for millions of people to migrate away from their families into these crowded urban centers. Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, to accurately measure the scale of what Murty is attempting to execute today in 2026, we have to establish the baseline he started from.
Right, we have to go back.
Yeah, back to 1999. Because the psychological scars of early internet access, they really inform every single decision he makes now.
The Everest climb. That is the exact metaphor Murty uses in the chat logs to describe his early experiences getting online.
And the statistics he recounts are just excruciating.
Oh, they're brutal. In 1999, if you walked into an internet cafe in India, you were handing over 100 rupees for a single hour of access.
Which was a premium price tag back then.
And for that price, you were buying speeds of a glacial 4 kbps. But here's the kicker. That 4 kbps pipeline was actively being shared by 7 different computers in the room.
Right, which means, functionally, you are measuring data transfer in bytes per second. You are browsing the web. You're essentially waiting for text to be painfully transcribed onto your monitor.
Yeah, and trying to communicate verbally was just as agonizing. I mean, Murty documents his attempts to simply call his brother-in-law. It cost 1.25 pays per minute.
So he'd initiate the call, navigate this unstable network.
And it would inevitably drop to a voicemail. He'd leave a message, hang up, and then just wait in a vacuum. It pushed him to try and learn email as an alternative.
But even that was a trial by fire.
Totally. It took Murty 15 days, like an entire fortnight of repeatedly filling out a glitchy, failing digital form just to successfully create a Hotmail account, to send one message.
15 days for an email account.
It's like trying to sip an entire ocean through a cocktail straw. The friction wasn't just an inconvenience, it was a structural barrier to participation.
What's fascinating here is how human foresight can occasionally operate entirely independent of the physical limitations of its time.
What do you mean?
Well, despite experiencing the absolute most punishing version of early dial-up, Murty looked at that 15-day Hotmail ordeal and saw the endpoint of the technology.
Oh, right. His 1999 prediction.
Exactly. In 1999, he made this deeply counterintuitive prediction. He hypothesized a future where commercial and residential real estate prices in major urban hubs would eventually drop.
Because people would work from home.
Right. His reasoning was that once the technological infrastructure matured to handle the load, people would seamlessly learn and earn from their homes via virtual work environments.
Which at the time probably sounded like literal science fiction to anyone waiting 10 minutes for a single image to load.
Oh, absolutely.
But the chat logs pull in some staggering data to show how the physical reality has finally caught up to that 1999 hypothesis. I mean, it's 2026, and the landscape is unrecognizable.
It's a completely different paradigm.
Today, 96% of Indian villages have reliable 4G coverage. Telecom operators like Jio and Airtel have aggressively pushed 5G networks into the most remote corners of Andhra Pradesh.
Yeah, rural users don't just have access. They now make up over 57% of India's active internet base.
We have gone from a 4 kbps trickle shared by a room full of frustrated people to individual dedicated 100 millips to 1 Gbps fiber optic pipelines.
And that shift from scarcity to abundance, it completely rewrites the rules of economic geography.
How so?
Because once you lay down a 100 megabit per second information highway straight through an agricultural village, the immediate question becomes, well, what is the utility of this infrastructure? You don't lay fiber optics just to stream videos faster.
Right, the infrastructure is just the plumbing. And this is where Murty's current initiative, Project Antaryami, steps into the picture. He describes it as building a digital Taj Mahal.
Yeah, he's aiming to solve a very specific modern socioeconomic crisis. It addresses a systemic issue that we can conceptualize as a relocation tax.
The relocation tax. Tell the listener a bit more about what that means.
So for decades, if you grew up in a rural area and had ambitions for career growth, particularly in tech or administration, you had to pay this invisible tax. You had to physically pack up your life, leave your extended family structure.
Abandon your community support system.
Exactly. And migrate to a high-cost, densely populated, and often highly polluted urban tech hub. Project Antaryami is a structural attempt to eliminate that tax entirely.
Yeah, the core philosophy is to build a mechanism where people can learn complex digital skills and earn a competitive income without ever leaving their home villages.
So they retain the benefits of a healthier, low-cost environment.
And they can actively participate in the care of their elders without stalling their professional trajectory. In the chat, Murty points out that traditional educational institutes have largely failed to construct pipelines specifically for home-based rural earning.
So he bypassed them. He built the Antaryami VA Academy, the Virtual Assistant Academy.
And the mechanical execution of this academy is rooted in a concept he calls the lifeboat strategy.
Right, which brings us to the tech specs.
Yeah, this is where we get into the hardware, and I actually have to push back a little for you, considering your own experiences with modern software requirements.
Okay, let's hear it.
So, the sources detail that Murty is deploying minimalist hardware to ensure what he calls digital dignity. Specifically, he is running Linux Mint operating systems on machines equipped with just 2 GB of RAM.
Yep, 2 GB.
Wait, can you really run a modern virtual assistant career on just 2 GB of RAM in 2026?
Yeah.
Isn't that like trying to race a Formula One car on a bicycle engine?
Well, on the surface, sure. If we look at it through the lens of consumer tech habits where we constantly upgrade to the newest machine, it sounds impossible.
It really does.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, the lifeboat strategy is a masterclass in software optimization. It's not about luxury. It's about access. Modern commercial operating systems are incredibly heavy.
Oh, they're packed with graphical bloatware, constant background telemetry tracking.
Yeah, and redundant applications that eat up processing power before you even open a browser. But Linux Mint is fundamentally different. It is an exceptionally lightweight, modular operating system.
So it's about stripping the vehicle down to the chassis.
Precisely. By removing the operating system bloat, that 2 GB of RAM is no longer acting as a storage tank for unnecessary background tasks. It acts purely as a high-speed funnel.
Ah, I see.
And when you pair that highly efficient funnel with a 100 Mbps fiber connection, the local machine doesn't need to do the heavy lifting anymore.
Because virtual assistant tasks in 2026, managing cloud-based CRMs, utilizing AI language models, running browser-based design software like Canva, all of that processing happens on remote servers.
Exactly. The local computer is just the terminal accessing the cloud. By optimizing the software, Murty drastically lowers the financial barrier to entry.
So you don't need a $1,000 laptop to participate in the global economy, which is the foundational premise of his digital dignity.
That's it in a nutshell.
That makes perfect sense. It's mathematical efficiency. But, a highly optimized funnel still requires a physical space to operate from, especially when you were trying to introduce an entirely new working culture to a region.
Right. He couldn't just drop these Linux machines into an empty field.
Exactly. He needed a base of operations.
And the physical environment dictates the psychological reception of the technology, which makes his selection of the Munsif's house in Antaryami a highly calculated sociological maneuver.
Here's where it gets really interesting. By setting up operations in the Munsif's house, he is making a deliberate psychological play. A Munsif is a traditional village headman.
So by utilizing this specific property, Murty isn't just renting square footage, he is inheriting decades of established trust currency.
Yeah, it is a profound understanding of behavioral psychology in rural communities.
Well, rural economies are deeply risk-averse when it comes to adopting disruptive models, and frankly, rightly so.
Right. If Murty had constructed a hyper-modern glass and steel tech incubator in the middle of Antaryami, it would project alienation. It creates an intimidation factor.
Families would view it with total skepticism. But by embedding this cutting-edge global connectivity inside a space of traditional authority and historical safety, the cognitive dissonance disappears.
Families feel secure sending their daughters and wives to the Munsif's house because the building itself vouches for the safety of the endeavor.
It bridges the psychological gap beautifully.
It does. And strategically, the physical location within the village is just as optimized. The sources note the house is situated right next to the Bank of Baroda and the local post office.
So it is positioned literally at the crossroads of daily civic life.
Exactly. But while the exterior project's tradition, the interior is fortified like a modern data center. They have run a dedicated fiber drop wire straight into the first floor hall for an uninterrupted 100 millipede pipeline.
And crucially, they've installed a heavy-duty digital inverter setup.
Right, because of the power grid.
Yeah, that inverter is not a luxury. It is the linchpin of the entire operation. Areca sits on the Godavari River belt. The environmental realities of that region include intense, hardware-degrading humidity and highly unpredictable voltage spikes.
Oh, wow.
So the digital inverter functions as a massive industrial-scale, uninterruptible power supply. It conditions the power and protects those optimized Linux machines from being fried the moment the grid fluctuates.
It's adapting global tech to local environmental realities. And, the physical setup inside the room mirrors this adaptation. They aren't using ergonomic mesh office chairs or cubicles.
No, they are utilizing traditional floor seating.
But Murty reframes this entirely. It isn't presented as a budget constraint or a lack of proper furniture. He formally refers to it as digital yoga.
I love that. It's a subtle but really effective framing mechanism. It strips away the sterile corporate anxiety of an office environment and replaces it with a grounding, familiar physical posture.
The body remains anchored in local tradition while the mind is trained to engage with complex, global digital ecosystems.
It's brilliant.
But perfectly conditioned power, high-speed fiber, and psychological comfort only create the arena, right? The real challenge of any technological rollout isn't the hardware, it's user adoption. Technology doesn't teach itself.
Definitely not.
I noticed in the chat logs that when it came to recruitment, Murty isn't flying in tech consultants from Bangalore. He is specifically targeting a demographic of 100 local women to become the foundational trainers for the VA Academy.
And not just any women. He is exclusively recruiting ex-Ashivalayam volunteers.
Right. And here's where I have to ask on behalf of you listening, why go through all this effort to train the trainers rather than just teaching the end users directly?
This raises an important question about the mechanics of driving behavioral change in a closed network. Sakshivalayam volunteers are individuals who are part of a highly localized administrative initiative.
Oh, okay.
They are educated, but more importantly, they are already deeply trained in the nuances of village affairs.
So they are essentially the administrative nerve centers of these communities. They already know how to translate complex government or bureaucratic directives into actionable advice for local families.
Exactly. They possess immense pre-existing social capital. Think about it. If an outsider attempts to convince hundreds of skeptical families to embrace a completely abstract concept like remote virtual assistants, they face years of friction and pushback.
Oh, absolutely.
But by utilizing these specific women as the vanguard, Murty engineers a massive multiplier effect. When an ex-Ashivalayam volunteer, someone a family already relies on for administrative guidance, says, "This digital economy is real, it is safe, and I am going to teach you how to navigate it," the adoption barrier vanishes instantly.
Wow, you decentralize the trust. You don't try to build a new network, you just plug the fiber optics into the trust network that already governs the village.
Spot on.
So we have the 100 Ps infrastructure, the psychological safety of the Munsif's house, the optimized Linux architecture, and the social capital of the Sashivalayam women.
All the pieces are in place.
Right, but the ultimate test is execution. How do you actually turn the key on an operation this complex without it immediately crumbling under the weight of expectations?
Well, you divorce the operational launch from the public spectacle.
Mm-hmm.
The chat logs between Murty and Littlebird map out a highly pragmatic timeline, utilizing what they categorize as an Artha strategy.
And in this context, Artha refers to prioritizing material success and functional stability over symbolic gestures.
Right.
Today is June 8th. The logs show the operational launch, like the moment the systems go live and the women actually begin their training, is scheduled for June 12th, just 4 days from now.
But the public inaugural ceremony, the big ribbon cutting with local dignitaries, is intentionally delayed.
Why the delay?
Because day one tech rollouts are universally volatile. If you invite VIPs and skeptical community leaders into the room on the very first day and a router drops its IP address or a server configuration hangs.
The narrative instantly becomes one of failure.
Exactly. By pushing the public launch out to potential dates, like the June 25th Muharram holiday or maybe a Sunday open house in July, the team secures a vital buffer zone.
They give themselves weeks to stress test the network, iron out pedagogical bottlenecks, and ensure the 2 GB RAM machines are funneling data flawlessly.
Yeah, and when that public launch finally does occur, the sources reveal Murty is deploying a fascinating asset to ensure the narrative lands. A human proof of concept.
Oh, this is great. Last year, he ran a pilot program where he trained 70 local children in Sri Rama Colony, Kovor.
Right, and he plans to bring these children to the inauguration to serve as living, breathing testimonials.
They will sit down at these machines and actively demonstrate basic browser-based design on Canva or draft and send emails right in front of the gathered crowd.
It is an undeniable visual argument. I mean, you can distribute pamphlets explaining the theoretical benefits of the digital economy all day long, but watching a local village child confidently manipulate global software platforms in real time.
It shatters any lingering adult skepticism.
Completely.
Yeah.
And that visual proof feeds directly into the broader socio-political strategy Murty is orchestrating behind the scenes.
That's a crucial layer to this. The logs dive into the regional political dynamics at play. The Munsif's house is physically located in a Chowdhury-dominant TDP or Telugu Desam party belt.
Right.
Simultaneously, Murty has spent the past year cultivating strategic relationships with Kovor's BJP leaders. Project Antaryami philosophically aligns with massive top-down national initiatives like the Digital India and Skill India missions, but Murty is executing this entirely on a self-reliant model, totally free from the red tape of government funding.
And it's really important to note for you as we analyze this section of the source material, our objective here is purely to dissect the strategic logistical alliances Murty is navigating as detailed in the chat logs.
Yes, exactly. We are absolutely not endorsing the TDP, the BJP, or any specific political platform or viewpoint. We are simply reporting the ideas contained in the original sources and examining the mechanics of how he leverages the current political reality.
Right. We are just looking at the chessboard.
So what does this all mean for Project Antaryami? Why cultivate these political ties if you aren't even asking them for funding?
Because it is a highly effective business-to-government, or B2G, maneuver. Murty isn't approaching local leadership with a theoretical proposal requesting resources. He is presenting them with a fully operational, localized solution to their own mandates.
Oh, I see.
By taking underemployed ex-Sachivalayam volunteers and successfully transitioning them into high-tech virtual assistant roles, he is actively solving regional employment and skill development metrics for these politicians.
He builds a working prototype of their own political promises.
Exactly. And in response, the government apparatus, instead of acting as a bureaucratic obstacle, naturally shifts into becoming an amplifier for the project.
Because when local leaders recognize a self-sustaining success story that perfectly mirrors the national digital India vision, it is in their own political interest to champion and protect it.
The incentives across the entire board are perfectly aligned. The volunteers gain digital dignity and upward economic mobility. The families retain their community structure without sacrificing income.
The political leaders secure a tangible, localized victory, and Murty establishes the functional blueprint for his 1999 hypothesis.
It is a remarkable trajectory to analyze.
It really is. We've traced the timeline from the punishing isolation of 1999, refreshing a failing Hotmail form for 15 days, just to establish basic contact, to the optimized reality of 2026.
A reality where a 100 Mbps fiber optic pipeline, carefully routed into a traditional village headman's house, utilizes stripped-down Linux software to empower local women to plug directly into the global economy.
Project Antaryami isn't just about teaching software, it is actively dismantling the relocation tax.
It is the evolution from viewing global connectivity as a mountain you must physically climb to constructing an information highway that delivers the global economy directly to the village floor.
Which leaves us with a highly provocative, structural question to consider as we wrap up. We've spent this entire time analyzing what this decentralized digital framework means for the rural village. But what happens to the global landscape if this exact model scales successfully?
That's the million-dollar question.
If an optimized, lightweight computer and a high-speed fiber connection can legitimately transform any traditional rural home into a functional node of the global digital economy, effectively erasing the necessity of that relocation tax, What is the ultimate fate of the world's megacities?
It definitely challenges the core assumption of modern economic geography, which dictates that human ambition must eventually funnel into densely packed urban centers.
Exactly. Will the hyper-expensive, towering commercial real estate of the urban office soon become an obsolete relic of the past? Could you be looking at a near future where metropolitan density begins to fracture and shrink, replaced by millions of localized digital Taj Mahals silently operating across rural landscapes worldwide?
It's entirely possible.
If the mountain can finally be brought directly to you, perhaps society will simply stop climbing. Something for you to think about. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning and keep exploring.